Imagine a universe created by a flying plate of spaghetti. Sounds ridiculous, right? Yet some argue that the flying spaghetti monster, otherwise known as FSM, is just as valid as the God of the Bible. But here's the problem: spaghetti is bound by time, space, and physics, while God is not. In this video, we'll break down why the FSM is nothing more than a bad joke and how science, logic, and history all point to the true creator, Yahweh. Get ready because this is going to be a takedown like no other. You see, the idea of the flying spaghetti monster originated as a parody to mock religious belief, particularly in response to the teaching of intelligent design in schools. However, it is deeply flawed and silly in comparison when applied to the God of the Bible. Now here we go. Number 1. The FSM is bound by the laws of physics. God is not. You see, this spaghetti monster is made of physical material, primarily spaghetti and meatballs. That means it is subject to gravity, it has mass, thermodynamics, it would decay, and relativity, it is confined to time. You see, anything bound by physical laws is part of the universe, not the cause of it. A God that is made of atoms cannot be the creator of all the atoms. Modern physics suggests that the cause of the universe must be immaterial, since it created matter, it must be timeless, since it created time, and it must be powerful, since it created everything. This directly matches the biblical description of God. Take a look at Genesis 1:1 and John 4:24. However, the FSM fails all of this criteria. Number 2, the universe had a beginning. The FSM could not have created it. You see, the FSM is depicted as a being within the universe. However, science confirms that the universe had a beginning. Just take a look at the Big Bang Theory or the second law of thermodynamics. So you see, if the spaghetti monster, which is made up of spaghetti, exists inside the universe, it cannot be the cause of the universe. Any physical object, like spaghetti, cannot exist before time, space, and matter existed. The Kalam cosmological argument, supported by modern physics, states, number 1, everything that begins to exist has a cause. Number 2, the universe began to exist. And number 3, therefore, the universe must have a cause that is outside of time, space, and matter. This matches precisely the biblical view of God, but not that of the flying spaghetti monster, which is stuck in, physical reality. Number 3, the FSM violates the law of thermodynamics. You see, everything in the physical universe follows entropy, or the second law of thermodynamics. This means physical things decay over time. For example, spaghetti decomposes and rots, and energy becomes less useful over time. So the FSM is made of matter and would decay and rot over time. So if the flying spaghetti monster were eternal, it would have run out of usable energy. In contrast, the God of the Bible does not decay or suffer from entropy. Take a look at Malachi chapter 3. It says, "For I, the Lord, do not change." Or Hebrews chapter 13. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. This contradicts the flying spaghetti monster, which, if real, would have decomposed long ago. Number 4. The fine-tuning of the universe refutes the flying spaghetti monster. You see, the universe is finely tuned for life with over 30 physical constants, for example, gravity, the electromagnetic force, and nuclear forces that are precisely set. And this flying spaghetti monster offers no reason why these constants are there, or the way they are. Furthermore, this flying spaghetti monster is subject to physical laws, meaning it cannot be the one that designed them. What does science say about God? Well, physicist Paul Davies says the universe looks as if it was designed for life. Stephen Hawking says the laws of physics appear fine-tuned for human life. In Isaiah chapter 45, it says, God formed the earth and made it. He established it. He did not create it to be empty, but formed it to be inhabited. So you see, the flying spaghetti monster is a joke, but the fine-tuning of the universe is a serious scientific fact. Number 5. The flying spaghetti monster has no explanatory power for consciousness. You see, humans have self-awareness, morality, rational thought, and the ability to think beyond material existence. Here is the scientific problem. The FSM, as a material being, cannot explain the origin of consciousness. Matter alone cannot produce self-awareness. If the flying spaghetti monster were a god, it would be subject to the same brain-based limitations as humans. Here's what science says about God. In Genesis chapter 1, it says, God created mankind in his own image. Furthermore, neurology cannot explain why we have subjective experiences, which is called the hard problem of consciousness. And also, God, being spirit, is the best explanation for why humans have self-awareness. So you see, the flying spaghetti monster is just a physical object. Physical objects do not create self-awareness. Number 6. The historical evidence for God refutes the flying spaghetti monster. You see, this spaghetti monster is a fictional joke. However, the God of the Bible has the following. Historical documentation. Take a look at the Dead Sea Scrolls and the New Testament manuscripts. It has philosophical arguments, the first cause, and moral law. And it has scientific support, for example, the Big Bang and fine-tuning. And finally, it has eyewitness accounts of miracles, the resurrection of Jesus. In contrast, there is zero historical or philosophical evidence for the flying spaghetti monster. There are thousands of manuscripts and archaeological finds confirming the Bible. So you see, historians widely agree that Jesus existed and that early Christians truly believed in his resurrection. And not only that, but the Bible's historical claims, for example, cities, kings, and events, have been consistently verified. The flying spaghetti monster is not based on reality, but Christianity is deeply rooted in history. And finally, number 7. The flying spaghetti monster is an intentional straw man, not a serious hypothesis. You see, the flying spaghetti monster was never meant to be real. It was designed as a mockery, not an actual counter-argument. It provides zero explanatory power for the universe, morality, human consciousness, or fine-tuning. It is not an alternative theory, just a parody. You see, serious scientists and philosophers do not use FSM arguments because, well, it fails all logical and scientific tests, and it misrepresents religious belief by treating God as a sky fairy instead of an uncaused eternal being. So you see, the flying spaghetti monster is a bad joke, but God is a scientific necessity. In summary, the flying spaghetti monster is made of physical matter, and God is not. The flying spaghetti monster cannot exist outside of time. God is eternal. The flying spaghetti monster has no explanatory power, whereas God explains fine-tuning, consciousness, and morality. And the flying spaghetti monster is, well, a joke. God is supported by science, history, and philosophy. So you see, comparing God to spaghetti is as silly as comparing Einstein to a plate of lasagna. It is intellectually lazy and scientifically absurd. So if you're one of these atheists that wants to disprove God, you need a serious argument, not some spaghetti-based satire. So the next time someone compares Yahweh to a plate of pasta, just remember, spaghetti may fill your stomach, but only God can fill your soul. And here's one final thought, if none of the above resonated with you. Bobby Henderson, the creator of this joke, isn't Italian, but he sure borrowed their pasta to cook up his parody. But too bad for him that spaghetti belongs in a bowl and not as God. So if you like this video, leave your comments down below, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.